I'm Duchess Marie-Simone de Barjavel La Fidena. I thank your majesties for the opportunity to speak today regarding Baron Manus MacDhai. In the Romance of the Rose, the perfect knight is not just the strongest warrior. He's also passionate, generous, courteous, kind, and devoted to his love. Manus embodies these virtues. His passion for roses is unmistakable. No one who's taken one of his classes or spoken to him about his expertise can doubt it. He's generous with his time, giving not just to the arts community, but also with his work for the barony of Windmaster's Hill. He is courteous and kind. His friendliness and listening heart are obvious to anyone that has crossed his path. He does not speak ill of others, and his genuine spirit shines. He is devoted to the one he loves. No one can doubt the spirit of Manus's love for Sophie. To witness his smile of pride as she speaks or works is to see his giving nature. Manus embodies the virtues that are necessary to peerage. He acts with passion, kindness, and a generous spirit. I commend him as a worthy candidate to your majesties and to the Order of the Laurel. Thank you.
I am Mistress Rowan of Hawkridge, a member of the Order of the Pelican, and I can speak to this man's service. As a recent seneschal of the great barony of Windmaster's Hill, I can speak to the many years of work Baron Manus MacDhai has performed. I ask you to think on the white rose, symbolic of selflessness and purity. Manus's service is like the white rose, not performed out of ambition or desire for praise, but out of love for the society and the dream we all share. When I first came to reside in Atlantia over a decade ago, Baron Manus was already known for his steadfast and quiet service. This service has been long and without thought of reward. For almost 30 years, he has been modestly working wherever his help is needed. There is not a job that Manus would not lend his hand to if asked. For many years, he has held offices and taught classes innumerable. Others may speak of these deeds. I speak of Manus being one of the pillars of Windmaster's Hill. Manus is one of the people I know I can always call on for help if ever I need it. Even before we were well acquainted, I asked Manus if he could provide roses to decorate the hall for a May-themed event I was holding. He delivered beyond my dreams. Not only was the feast hall redolent of his period roses, he fashioned a rose coronet for the winner of the tournament to bestow upon his lady. Years later, when I as seneschal needed help printing the last few baronial polling letters, as a number of the addresses had gone astray, he not only printed the envelopes and provided me with the most efficient driving route directions to deliver them, he fed me. In this way, his service, though not flashy, has always been steady. He's always gone above and beyond what was asked for. Manus has long been one of the crew to consistently show up at shed load-ins and load-outs before and after events. Every Emir that I can recall has been one of the last on site, and one of the last loading equipment away. This includes infrastructure related to activities Manus takes no part in personally. This service is always given with grace and good humor. In these and other instances too numerous to count, I speak of Manus's hand being invisible and steady behind the scenes of the barony and the kingdom, lending aid where needed and when needed, with no fanfare and with endless goodwill. As the white rose symbolizes purity and selflessness, in such a manner, Manus has served his barony, his kingdom, and the society. He could as easily be a pelican as a laurel, and the laurel will be fortunate to count him amongst their number. Manus is my peer, and I can wholeheartedly recommend him to your majesties.
Your majesties, I am Gaelen Cuinnegán, companion of the Order of the Pelican. I speak today on behalf of Baron Manus MacDhai. I could speak to years of dedicated service that he has provided to the Canton of Elbagast, the barony of Windmaster's Hill, and the Kingdom of Atlantia. I could speak to his service as Seneschal, Exchequer, and one of the brainchildren behind the spice mixture fundraiser that Elbagast has been doing for the last several years. I could speak to his service to the archery community, setting up numerous list fields, or the ANS community, or even the Commedia community. I could even speak to him being one of the usual suspects at many shed runs, setting up, tearing down numerous events, encampments, and demos. But alas, Even though his service is worthy of a peerage, we're here to discuss him for the Order of the Laurel. To that end, I must relate a story I was told, where a young Manus started on this path. Many years ago, Duchess Simone noticed that yellow roses were being passed out at a crown tournament, and she pondered aloud, are yellow roses even period? No one knew the answer, but Manus went, I'll find out. Now, this was no small task in the days before Google, when we still had dial-up internet. Manus eventually determined that yes, yellow roses are period. So are red ones, white ones, pink ones, and striped ones. He has spent decades researching the historic varieties and colors of roses and grows them in his own yard. He has taught at so many Atlantean universities, I've run out of fingers. And while we would normally blame the shenanigans on Mistress Tanis, this one we get to blame on Duchess Simone. Because if she hadn't pondered aloud, are yellow roses period, Manus may never have been inspired to walk this path to find out. So I'm here today to commend my friend, Baron Manus MacDhai, to you for elevation to the Order of the Laurel.
Greetings, Atlantia. I may be the Baroness of Lochmere, but today I speak before you as Maestra Letia Thistelthueyt, Master of the Art of Defense. It is my honor and privilege to share with you the skill and knowledge of my dear friend Manus, who has mastered the art of something else that has a defense, the rose. Manus cultivates the art of the rose, and in these arts, although these arts may seem wholly different on the surface, like many things, when you get to know them better, they are more alike than different. There is a timing and a tempo to a fight, but we should not overlook that there is a timing and a tempo to planting, pruning, and caring for a garden. There's an undeniable elegance and beauty in a rose, as there is an elegance and beauty that can be found in the motion of a sword and a mastery of a fight. If you are not focused and attentive during a fight, you will get stabbed. The same is true if you hold a rose and you are also not attentive. Although there is a chance that Manus has lost more blood to his art than I have actually lost real blood to mine. The sweet scent of the rose inspires poets and artists, while perhaps we should not talk of the scent of rapier fighters as they leave the field. Yet there are some differences as well. But in cultivating both arts, there's definitely sweat. It is windmasters in the summer, after all. There is failure, there are tears, but there are successes. And all of those grow along the path of knowledge, skill, and mastery. That is true whether the mastery is swordsmanship or growing a beautiful rose. I've asked Manus for advice on my roses. I've learned from his classes. I've marveled at his garden. And I've sweet memories of conversations about small scented purple roses among the dozens and dozens he cut from his own garden to make a feast more beautiful, more years ago at an event than I could even count. Manus has mastery of his knowledge and art of cultivating historic roses, and I am honored to be able to recognize and speak for him, and indeed, he is my peer. Thank you.
Greetings unto their majesties Atlantia and the assembled populace. My name is Baron Rodrigo Falcone, Knight of the Society and of Atlantia. The distinction of speaking for Baron Manus MacDhai falls to me among the Order of the Chivalry, and I'm so glad it did. I have much to tell you about this individual. I can't tell you much about Manus's art. I do know something about growing trees and slow-growing flowering plants, deciduous plants we call them, but I do know something about that. And for Manus MacDhai, you must read his documentation. And you must see his fiery passion for these roses. And I've learned a lot from that. These lost varieties that he finds, that's amazing. But that's not the thing I like most about Manus. Manus has always been a strong servant, and he's always served the barons and baronesses of Windmaster's Hill very fine, as he did me. He was always reliable, even when he was going through great changes. And that speaks a little something to a man's heart. That tells you a little bit more about the man. Through his own trials and tribulations, he was indeed reliable in service to the kingdom and to our national organization. But there's another thing that makes me admire and respect Baron Manus, and that is the words of my wife. When she was very new to the SCA, Manus was a safe friend for her. She felt comfortable with Manus amongst all these other personalities. And peopling isn't easy for my wife, and that speaks a lot of strength. And since then, and since, she told me that very early on in our relationship, that I began watching a different aspect of Manus. I began watching a strength that I hadn't seen, and frankly don't see in everybody. And that is a strength to look within yourself and better yourself, even call yourself out. Among the knights, we count that as a true strength. Among the knights, we count that as an equal. We're supposed to do that all the time. It's expected of us. Frankly, it's expected of every peer of Atlantia. And I can tell you this, when it comes to strength, reliability, and heart, Manus is my equal. Manus is the equal of our order. So swear I, Baron Rodrigo Falcone, Knight of the Society. Your Majesties, I cannot recommend him more to you. Thank you.
Buonasera, tutti amici, and greetings, your gracious majesties of Atlantia. I am Maestra Lucia Elena Braganza, a member of the Order of the Laurel in the Middle Kingdom. I have been asked to speak of Baron Manus MacDhai's art, roses. The pink rose stands for dedication and perseverance, and Manus has shown decades of dedication and perseverance in his art. Among the Laureate, it is well known that some arts are fleeting. Feasts are consumed almost as soon as they are cooked. Performances only exist for the length of the show. Roses? Historical roses bloom for a week or two at best every year. They are fickle and flighty and keep to their own schedule, not that of Penzic or Atlantia University. Manus has persevered in finding ways to share his knowledge and his roses in the SCA through creative problem solving. He was invited to speak at the Heritage Rose Foundation as the expert on pre-1600 roses. During his research for that talk, he unearthed references to an herbarium specimen of a rose plant pressed around 1576. With that confirmation, he has been creating pressed flower herbarium-style specimens to use in displays and classes, bringing the real flower into play, not just photos or drawings. Along with all the camping gear and commedia props and sets, he always ferries a flock of potted roses to Penzic and other big events for teaching his classes and simply beautifying the campsite. Outside of the pandemic, he has offered garden tours at his own home when his beloved apothecary roses decide to bloom. Many of us enthusiasts are known for planning vacations around visiting relevant historical spots or museums with key items. Manus arranged a family vacation to Hildesheim Cathedral in Germany to visit the famous 1,000-year rose, a living primary source. Not many of us have that available. For last year's Atlantia Kingdom Arts and Sciences Fair, he created a family tree showing the heritage and lineage of one particular cultivar. We're used to seeing this for royalty or kingdoms, not roses, but it's worth it. In this year of the plague, he has jumped in feet first, bringing his modern technological skills to bear, shifting his whole catalog of rose classes to online forums in multiple kingdoms, and adding a class staged in his own garden to demonstrate planting techniques. His online resources mean that people stuck at home can continue to explore historical roses and grow their own gardens. That is the height of dedication and perseverance in this very difficult year. Pink roses also stand for joy and perfect happiness. Manus has obvious joy and happiness in his art. It shines when he gets to dig into a thorny question such as, did yellow roses exist in period? It spills over to others when they connect with him and they can share his enthusiasm. There are days he may not look happy, up to his elbows in scratches and mud, but it's a complicated happiness we artisans understand. But being a Laurel is more than just depth of knowledge. It's also those elusive peer-like qualities, and I've been asked to speak of those too. I've been surprised at how challenging this was for me, not because he doesn't have them, he does in spades, but because he lives those qualities so completely, it's tough to tease apart what is peer-like qualities and what is Manus just being Manus. He's generous, compassionate, courteous, loyal, honorable to all regardless of rank. He serves others, the newcomer, as enthusiastically as the crowned. He's dependable. He'll move mountains and cinder blocks to fulfill his promises. He's unafraid to take on the unglamorous tasks. He's accountable. He reflects on his actions and attitudes in ways that are not common in the current world and are sometimes a stumbling block in the SCA. He holds himself to a high standard, and he shows great courage in making amends when he's wrong. He is consistent and admirable as a whole person in every day of his life, not just an SCA persona. I am lucky to call Manus my brother-in-law. I am blessed to call him my friend, and I would be honored to call him a fellow master of the Laurel. I heartily recommend him to your majesties.